So in today's lecture we are going to talk about quadratic equations. So what is a quadratic equation? Any equation in which the maximum power of a variable is equal to 2 is called a quadratic equation. So here you go with the general form of a quadratic equation, that is ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Here we need to understand the importance of is equal to 0, because any equation without is equal to 0 is not an equation but a expression. So if we remove equals to 0 from here, so it becomes a quadratic expression instead. So here we have a and b as our coefficients, x square and x as our variables, and c is the constant. So what are the meaning of these three terms? Coefficients are the number that are attached with a variable, and variables are the alphabets such as x, y, z, or any of the other alphabet that is being used in an equation. What is constant? A constant is a number that has no variable attached to it. We must also understand that here a is not equal to 0, because if a becomes equal to 0, then our equation must see like this, that is bx plus c is equal to 0, and this is a linear equation. Now we must learn how to convert a general equation into its standard form. So here we go with the first example, that is 3x square plus 9x plus 5. In the first step, we have to make a variable independent, that is by taking the coefficient as common. So we must take 3 common here to make a variable independent. Now our equation becomes 3 whole bracket x square plus 3x plus 5 upon 3 is equal to 0. In the second term, we will deal with the middle term only, that is by taking 2 common out of the middle term. So here you go with the second step, that is 3x square plus 2, 3 upon 2x plus 5 upon 3. In the third step, we will use the property of additive inverse, that is adding the square of the middle term one time and then subtracting it another time to produce an additive inverse effect, that is they will cancel out each other, however they will help in producing the standard form. Now by taking the first 3 terms of the equation, you are going to form square bracket, that is to include x, and the last term, that is 3 upon 2 whole square, and these two constants are going to add up as it is. Now we will solve these two terms to give minus 7 upon 12. We must ensure that 3 that is taken by that is taken outside the square bracket multiplies with our whole brackets to form a standard form. Here we multiply it with 3 to get our standard form, that is 3x plus 3 upon 2 whole square minus 7 upon 4. However, I have got a trick for you to convert the general equation into a standard form. So here you go with the general equation, that is 3x square plus 9x plus 5. We are going to compare it with our standard form, that is ax minus h whole square plus k. So first of all, we need to expand this bracket to get ax square minus 2ahx plus ah square plus k. Now we will compare both of the equations with each other. By comparing, we come to know that here a becomes equal to 3, 9 becomes equal to negative 2ah, and 5 becomes equal to ah square plus k. Okay? So from here we are going to substitute the value of a here so that we get the value of h. Now we have to find the value of k. So we are going to substitute the value of a and h to get the value of k. We are going to substitute the value of a, h and k in our standard form, so that to get our final standard form, that becomes 3 x plus 3 upon 2 whole square minus 7 upon 4. We saw that both of the methods result in the same answer. However, the second method is less time consuming and is much simpler. Now we will look upon how to solve quadratic equations. So there are two methods of solving quadratic equation. The first one is by factorization and the other one is using quadratic formula. So by factorization, we need to break the middle term in such an order to get two factors of the equation. So here you go with the first example, that is x square plus 3x plus 2. We need to break the middle term here, that is 3. That is 3. So we have to make the middle term in two numbers, so that when we add or subtract these two numbers we get 3, and when we multiply the two numbers we get 2. That is the product of the first and the last term. So we start with 1 and 2. While adding 1 and 2 we get 3, and by multiplying both of the numbers we get 2. So here we have find out the breakup of our middle term. So now we have x square plus 2x plus x plus 2 is equals to 0. We are going to take always x common from the first two terms, so that it becomes x bracket x plus 2, and we are going to take a constant common from the other two terms, so that we get another square bracket that is equal to the first square bracket. So we will look upon that we can take 1 as common to form the same square bracket formed as before. So here we take 1 common to form x plus 2 again. Now we will look upon, now you must notice that here x plus 2 is common to both the terms. So we will take x plus 2 common to give us x plus 1 as another square bracket. As we have formed two square brackets in multiplicative order and are equal to 0, we will equate each of the square bracket with 0, so that we get our final answer. So that x plus 2 becomes equal to 0 and x plus 1 become equals to 0, x is equals to negative 2 and x is equals to negative 1. This is our final answer. One of the things which I forgot to tell you, that if the question says to factorize, then our answer will remain till here, as we have formed the factorized form of our quadratic equation. These are the two factors of the quadratic equation. Here you go with the second example to give a better idea of how to solve quadratic equations. You must notice that here the quadratic equation does not resemble the general form. So first of all we will make it equal to the general form, that is by bringing 7x on the left hand side. So it becomes x square minus 7x minus 30 is equal to 0. Now we will break our middle term in such an order that it adds to get negative 7 and it's multiplied to get negative 30. So here you go with two numbers, negative 10 and 3. Negative 10x plus 3x multiply to form add to form to give negative 7 and multiply to form to give negative 30. So the breakup of our middle term becomes x squared negative 10x plus 3x minus 30 is equal to 0. Now we will take x common from first two terms to give us x bracket x minus 10, and we will take 3 common from our next two terms to give us the same square bracket as we have formed before. So now it becomes x comma x minus 10 x bracket x minus 10 plus 3 whole bracket x minus 10 is equals to 0. Now we will take x minus 10 as it is common to both of the terms to form two square bracket, that is x minus 10 and x plus 3 is equal to 0. Now we will equate each of the square bracket with equal to 0 to form our final answer, that is x is equals to 10 and x is equals to negative 3. However, there is another method of solving the same quadratic equation, that is by using a quadratic formula, but you need to remember the quadratic formula for using it in your exams. That is x is equals to negative b plus minus under root b square minus 4ac upon 2a. We took the same example so that we can compare our final answers. Here a is equal to 1, b is equal to 3 and c is equal to 2. Now we will substitute the value of a, b and c in our quadratic formula to get our final answer. That becomes equals to negative 1 and negative 2. So it becomes clear that our final answer will not get affected by any of the method. However, you will choose the method according to the nature of the question. If it's mentioned to use factorization, then we will solve the quadratic equation using method 1. However, if it is mentioned quadratic formula, then you will use method 2. But if nothing is mentioned, then we will choose the methods according to our feasibility. Another type of equation which we must encounter in our exams is x square minus 9 is equal to 0. Here there can be any of the constant value. You simply have to equate the x square with the constant value and will take square root on both the side to get your final answer, that is here 3 and negative 3.